While all eyes have been following T and Shimon's epic battle at the top of the standings, Duterte took it upon himself to make a splash. Snatching his first win of the season, Michael captured one of the most desired venues on the service out in California. And while we might see another bright face spoil the party here at Interlagos, today is when the championship is decided by our two titans. It'll be hard to overshadow that one as we get ready to watch round 12 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Interlagos has been Lotus Central this weekend, with the 49s also racing here yesterday. In case you missed that one, we have our handy track guide ready for you. Welcome to Autodromo's Jose Carlos Pache. Most fans and drivers simply know this place as Interlagos. Starting life as an absolute behemoth of a circuit, this Brazilian track was eventually truncated to the version you see today. Having hosted Formula One for roughly 3 decades, it's become very well known on the international stage. But it has also held rounds in the World Endurance Championship, as well as frequently seen Brazilian stock cars, motorcycles, and even truck racing. There's little difference between its two layouts, which includes the GP course and the Moto course, which simply adds a chicane to the end of the lap. In both cases, it's a tale of two circuits. The run past the start-finish line and into the Sena S, followed by the blast towards the Descida del Lago, are very high-speed sections that come back-to-back. Drivers will need to focus on top end in order to attack or defend. Expect most passes to happen in those two corners. But from Ferradura until Juchao, the track suddenly twists itself into a mess of hairpins and frustratingly technical turns. This can make car setup a real compromise, and for the latter part of the lap, an absolute pain when dealing with traffic. Pit exit is also a narrow affair, so it requires drivers to take care when trying to maximize their outlaps. On the upside, with this being a modern F1 track, there's paved runoff in abundance at many of the fast corners. The passion of the Brazilian fans always comes out in force at races, and it's no wonder with this picturesque track sandwiched right amongst the neighborhoods of Sao Paulo. Well, Adam, this car ran a very different Interlagos back when it was competing, but how is it going to take to the modern track?
You know, this car, at least in my experience, really does well here. You have the right mix of just flat-out speed and technicality that is, like I said, it's just fun to drive when you're out there. We're going to be, of course, running the Grand Prix layout, 15 turns, 2.676 miles, or 4.309 kilometers. And it's one, though, that you have to attack corners. You absolutely have to. You have to have the right amount of throttle and gas inputs, or you're going to lose a lot of time. And we got some tight championship battles here for today, so you can't spare to lose even a tenth of a second, or you could lose a championship.
No doubt about that. And as we look at that championship, up at the top, it is still Andy T with 7 points over Shimon. However, the drop points make it a little bit confusing in some ways, so I'll try to simplify it for you. If T finishes second or worse with no bonus points, Shimon will need to finish third or better with the pole or fastest lap, or he can finish fourth with both bonus ties. We'll try and get into it and do the calculations for you as we get farther on. But one of the things that certainly makes it difficult is that T has a 50-point drop in his pocket, which is a second place. We also have a teams championship as well. Adam, why don't you run us through that?
Yeah, put that up on the board there. Parliament Racing Team Brabham, 309 points right now in the lead. But, you know, we're talking about team championship, 28 points, 42 points. That's not too far behind. So Scuderia Ferrari will be having to be looked with Simone and Ronnie, see if they're able to overcome that gap. Martini Racing Team Lotus, another one. You know, they need a few things to go their way to overcome that 42-point gap, but it is not out of the question for something like that to happen here today. So that'll be another one we got to keep an eye on.
Of course, for today's race details, we are in the season finale, as we mentioned, and it's 35 laps that they have to do around here. They get around this place pretty quick. It's an open setup series, and some of the drivers might be a little closer to the chest with that today, considering the championship is on the line, and they have incident points to worry about. It's a modern Grand Prix track, so there's a couple places where they could abuse those limits and run afoul of a drive-through penalty. We're just getting the first few times on the board, and Timo Väskälänpää holds the provisional pole, but Shimon, his first lap didn't count, so he's under pressure. Remember, he needs to get bonus points here today to try and make life a little bit easier for him.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of he needs all the help he can get. And when you only have really 2 laps to put down a time, you just wasted one of those. Yeah, you're going to feel the pressure on the next one. And that's going to invite more of an opportunity to make another mistake. So he's got to hope that he's not starting this thing from toward the tail end of the field.
Grades on the outside of the front row for the time being, but a very distant 7/10ths back. Make that Tolinen now. Driver known for liking to trim out his car, about half a second still back from Väskälänpää. So Timo looks to be the one to hold the edge over many of his rivals. We're on board with Andy T, who I think is still on his warm-up lap. And hello to you as well, Andy, as he's taking advantage of the custom paint scheme to give us a little bit of a nod. So
and he is one of those guys that there aren't very many that are on the iRacing service that are as smooth as Andy T behind the wheel of a race car. And this is going to be one of those tracks that he should really be able to show it, see what he puts down here for as far as the time. And, okay, so I guess that was his warm come-out lap there. And so now we're on the clock.
Time to get both of them in. Fascinatingly, Väskälänpää improved to a 21.618. Simone a 21.619. There is 1,000 between Väskälänpää and Simone. Seppa, who's third in the points, seems to be struggling a bit today on that first lap. He's down in 12th position with a 22.9.
It's what we're saying is like, there's a lot of opportunity to lose a lot of time at this racetrack, and qualifying is going to expose that really quickly, and you could lose a second without even trying. You could lose a second here. So we see he still has one more lap here to put down and see what he can do.
So trying to improve, and he's more worried about behind him with Gernot Frische chasing only 5 points back in the championship. I'm trying to see if we have Gernot here today, but the second lap is quicker at 22.4. That puts him up to 6, so that'll do it. Get him a little bit higher up the order. But what about Andy T on this first flyer as he comes to the line? Is he going to be able to get the 2 bonus points for the pole? It's a 22.062. That's not going to be good enough, but it will put him on the second row.
Bill, but he also has enough time here to still put down in one more quick lap. So we'll see what he does here in just a minute when he comes across the line. But got Pablo Suarez up on the screen now. Iberian coming across down the front straightaway. I love the front straightaway here. It's one of my favorites in all the world. And comes across the stripe, 23.4. So that's not quite going to be what he wants. Andy T, though, starting about halfway through the lap now. And he's pushing it. He's on the edge here, Joe. Oh, almost a little bit of a slide there.
Yeah, looked like maybe the car got loose. Was that over the curbs? How does this car behave on the curbs around here?
At least around here, you got to use them to some extent, but you got to be careful using them too. I mean, they will upset the car, but it's actually not as much as it used to be before the tire model change a few seasons back, and it's a little bit better now.
I think Paul Williams is going to be the next to cross the line as we watch Andy T. Once again, it's hustling the car, maybe a little too much. Williams improves to a 22.5, and he jumps up to 11th. T is up next. He sits in third. He needs to make up about half a second on Väskälänpää to take the pole away. It is a 21.7. It is just shy.
Almost there. I mean, they shaved off 3/10 and it looked like he was going slow because of how much he was pushing. But here comes Suarez. See if he's able to improve on that 23.4.
Critically, though, Shimon will not get the 2 points for the the pole bonus. Vascalampi takes that. Suarez, as he comes to the line, I think he's going to be our last one to be able to set a lap. And the 23.4 becomes a 22.7. A nice jump up, and that'll put him into 14th. But that settles our starting order for today. Let's go through our grid. Timo Vascalampi, maybe he's the one that'll steal the show over Simone and T, as Tomasz starts in second with T in third. Tolan in P4, followed by Ove Trangrade. Great qualifying there in the 5th position. You've got Fabrizio Massani in 6th, Severi Seppa in 7th, and Andreas Henkel starting P8. Then it's Parigi in P9 and Kortaniemi rounding out your top 10.
All right, row 6 going to belong to Paul Williams and Dylan Freckington. Peter Kosinecki is going to be 13th, Pablo Suarez in 14th, Dennis Sheng in 15th, Christopher Dubois in 16th position. Row 9 is going to belong to Daniel Banker and Timothy Reed. Row 10, Cristiano Coriani and Barry West.
So now that means that only 2 more bonus points are available to Simone and T, and that will be for fastest lap. And once again, only one of them can take that. That means that 4th is basically off the cards for Simone. I'm pretty certain here. And essentially 50 points is there to be taken no matter whether he finishes lower than that 2nd place for Andy T today, because of that being his drop. And Simone is the one that has to perform, because Andy will get a good haul regardless. So we wait for the last of them to make their way out to the grid. You can see it is quite cloudy here today and late in the day, so it should be getting a little bit dark. Only 72 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface. We'll see if that cold weather will make a difference in the opening laps as they try to get this up to temperature.
And one thing to remember out here, Joe, is that at Interlagos, your pole sitters starting on the right side, and it's a left-hand turn for turn number 1. So, you know, if Simone can get a good run as the lights go out, we'll see what happens here.
Well, the engines now start to rev as the lights come up. Green flag is out off the line. It is not a good start for Vascalampi and a very good start for T. They're going to go 3 wide for the lead down into the Senna S, trying to pinch his rival down a little bit, but he's not as brave on the brakes. They're going to come together. Holy cow! They've wrecked on the very first lap, and they're going to make more contact. I don't know how much damage they have as the rest of the field goes by. They both go to last place.
Incredible.
Just too ambitious into there. T with a phenomenal start here, Adam.
Well, Simone and T getting off the line. Exactly what I was concerned about here is the left-hand turn. And then it really looked like Simone just got woed up just a little bit too much. Simone didn't have anywhere to go, and then grass being like ice, it just slid into each other. Couldn't get off each other either.
So now it becomes a question of how high they can climb up the order. Because again, no matter what, T gets points, and the impetus is on Simone to try and make this up and get to the front. So
and right now, I mean, they're going to cut through this traffic like a knife. I mean, don't count these two out of this here just yet, but Simone does have a little bit of rear wing damage, and then Andy has a little bit of front wing damage. But suspensions on both those cars looks good. That's going to be key here.
Absolutely. And it looks like for now, Simone has the advantage, just a position ahead of T in 16th and 17th, but Vascalampi leads the way with Seppa in second. Tolanen gets promoted to third. And not much action up at the front. Really, we're following this as someone goes off to the side. Simone getting a couple of positions there in the first corner.
Yeah, now Flores was taking a little bit of a field trip there on the outside, but he's back in line here. It's just lost a few positions, a little bit of pride. But looking where, I guess we're going to pull up here on GSRC replay machine, and he just went into turn 1 just a little bit hot and, you know, had to use a little bit of the runoff there. Thankfully, there is a little bit of runoff there to help you out.
And the most critical thing about their positions now, as we see Suarez able to get it going and not take too much of a loss there. is that if they finish with both of them taking their drops, then T wins. He will finish ahead of Shimon here today, as we're on board with Tolanen now, half a second back from Seppa, and a second and a half up to Vascalampi that you see up the road. So the battle has become for P2 amongst our front runners.
You know, and Timu up there leading this race, I mean, he's another one of those guys that you're not going to find very many guys that are smoother than him. You know, whether it be this, whether it be, you know, the Nissan, as far as running some of the Camel GT stuff. Timu is just a fast guy, and he's smooth, and that's exactly what he needs at a track like this. I mean, already going purple, setting the fastest lap out of the field, and you know, he's got clean air. If he can have a clean race, he might just run away with this thing and leave everybody else fighting for second.
On board with Korteniemi, that's Freckleton and Trangerade. Ove just took that spot over the 11. Something must have happened to the Norwegian, because he started from 5th and he just took 8th place. So he lost a few spots there early in today's event and is trying to make inroads to claim those back. This last one now sets him at a long gap up to Paul Williams in 7th. It's about almost 2 seconds to get to the next car.
I am going back real quick trying to see if I can find out what happened to him. I think it might have just been a lot of the chaos there that happened at the start, why Ove a lot of those positions. On
screen, that was Seppa we were riding on board with, spinning up the tires out of the Ducksbill. And as they come through the junction, he's not going to want to do that again, but he's sliding around a lot. If this is a better exit for Tolanen, he might have an easy pass down into the Senna S.
Got the pull right now. The draft, of course, I mean, this is the one place on this racetrack you can really use that draft to your advantage. And he's got to run. He's going to make a move here. He's going to take a good solid look going down to the Senna S. He's going to back out of it, thinking that's discretion's the better part of valor there. Seppa, though, still sliding through there.
Yeah, but as I said, Tolanen usually likes a lower downforce setup, so I anticipate if he gets a good run, it'll probably be an easier pass than most, as we are on board with Simone. He just took over 11th from Dubois and has already reached this battle that we were watching before between Korteniemi, Freckleton, and Trangerade.
Now, these guys do like to slide it around quite a bit. They got the advantage of the cooler weather on the side, but if you don't know a lot about the Lotus 79, in fact, actually, we go second. Seppa just slid almost all the way through. In fact, Tolanen had to get out of the gas to stay out of him. Joe, this battle here, this is going to be intense here for the next minute or two. I really think Tolanen's going to get him here in this next lap. But what I was getting ready to say, the more that these guys like to slide around, the more you're heating up the rear tires. Tire wear is not that big of an issue on these cars. Where it gets you is the tire temperature. You're going to have to manage that. You're not doing it by sliding around.
Yeah, you could see them really doing a lot of that coming through the infield portion. If we come back live, Tolanen's got his best run yet on the front stretch, and he's actually going to get side by side. He'll be given space by the Finn. Will he be able to complete the pass? Oh, it didn't look like it first, but pinching him down to the second apex, Yuka is going to move into second.
Yeah, that right there was both guys having issues getting the throttle down and keeping the car underneath them. And then Tolanen was just able to do it just a little bit better than Seppa. That pinching him down, that definitely helped his case.
Great
but
move.
Seppa's not careful here. I mean, he's going to have Massini and Henkel on him in no time flat.
That's a fair point. Those two have been closing in with that, battling back and forth. We're on board with Henkel now. Started from 8th, up 3 positions. 2 of them gained at the very first corner when our second and third place starter went off the course. As he comes down into the duckbill, continues to keep the pressure on with Maisani, who has some wheel spin of his own out of that hairpin. Ooh, something happened to Andy T. I saw him get on the radio. Oh, I think he had a little contact with Dubois. And his eagerness to get up the order.
I just watched that. It's actually lucky for both of them. They're not both out of this race again.
Yeah, he's got to run here. I don't think he's going to be able to get it. Yeah, he's too far back. So there's the incident right there.
Oh, So, that's Andy T has been struggling a little bit more with getting through this traffic. I mean, that's not the first time since the start of this race that he's had contact with somebody trying to navigate the position that he's now in, where Simone's now back up to ninth. I mean, he's having a little difficulty on the straightaways with the wing damage, but he's making up for it still in the corners. So Simone right now looks pretty good compared to where Andy T is, where Andy's just having trouble fighting through this traffic.
Yeah, he sliced through that group, and T is still trying to get past Dubois after a couple attempts. He's been stuck back here. He's going to come back to the scene of last time's accident. This time, though, I think Dubois knew it was coming. He didn't fight him that hard down into the Duck's Bill. As they come up to the junction, that's one down. He's still got two more to go to get up to Shimon. There's certainly pulled the gap. That's Freckleton and Cortiniemi up in front. I wonder if this is a little bit of the red mist for Andy T as we watch from the perspective of Hankel.
Hankel here, I think he's looking, he had a real good run there on Messina. I think he was thinking about it, trying to make that move. And they're starting to lose a little bit of ground to Seppa here, as I think they're starting to focus on more of their own battle. But Seppa's been losing ground to Tolonen as well. So in fact, here comes Hankel. He's going to get him here this time.
Yeah, Hankel now up to P4 with that one as we jump behind them to Paul Williams as he chases Parigi into the horseshoe. This is not often a place to pass, but we have seen it before. He's a little too far back this time. And we're only in lap 7 of this event, so there is still a lot of racing left to go here today. Struggle a little bit with the wheel is Cortiniemi. As we watch from the helmet cam, he's going to send it down the inside of Freckleton. They're going to go wheel to wheel as they go through Mergulo and down towards the junction, the long way around. We saw that move in the Lotus 49 a few times. Cortiniemi took note and played it out here in more modern machinery.
Yeah, in the Lotus 49, that's a little bit easier to pull off since you got the low downforce. I mean, sometimes taking the higher way around is a great way to go. But in these high downforce machines, I mean, you got to be really planted to pull that off. And he looked real good there doing that.
Freckleton fights back down into the first corner as we now hop on board with Kineski, who makes a move behind them, and he's going to be able to overtake Shaney. In fact, a big bobble from Dubois in front of them has put him under threat. Kineski has got a fantastic run, dips out of the slipstream, gets the car side by side, coming up into the Interlagos. And he's not going to be able to outbrake him cleanly. Coming back mid-corner, Dubois tries to fight back, and eventually he has to give way.
Ahead of these guys, though, I don't know if you saw him, Simone just went purple, fastest lap of the race, and he is all over the back end of Ove Trangerade.
Already working on the 8th position as T is still stuck in 12th. As Trangerade, man, he is right underneath that rear wing. Simone is making sure he is filling the mirrors of that Honda liveried Lotus. Up the hill. Ooh, this is looking very good. That was a great exit, Adam.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, he's got the toe here. He needs to use that toe for a little bit longer with that rear wing damage. He's going to pull out. He's going to have to, he's just close enough to Paul Williams to be able to use it. But Paul Williams is going to pull back up to the high side. And Tomas, he knows he's got that rear wing damage. He knows that he's got to try to use a little bit of the slipstream as much as he can. But even then, I mean, he's just so good through the technical part of the course that he is more than making up for the high-speed sections.
You mentioned earlier how he set the fastest lap of the race at one point, and that's not just those 2 bonus points. He's actually only 9 seconds behind our overall leaders. He's been running incredible pace, and that's with making passes.
Yeah, and then you compare that to Andy, who is now over 14 seconds behind your leader, Timu Bascalampe. And Andy's, it's the luck of the draw when it comes to traffic. He just hasn't been able to get through it as well.
It takes a little look to the inside of Freckleton there. And as it switches around, almost does the same thing to Freckleton that he did to Simone at the start of the race, making contact to the gearbox. but he likes that move down into the duckbill, and he's going to sneak by and chop him off pretty quickly.
Meanwhile, it's like go back to talking about Tomas. I just looked, and just looking at how everybody is spread out, at least up to second place. If he can continue cutting through traffic and get around Paul Williams here, maybe this lap, if not the next lap. I mean, he's going to take a look here. Looking out the back wing now, you'll see him. He's not going to do anything going down through the Senna S, but you still got one more section here. He might be able to make a move here this lap. He's going to be able to leapfrog. He's going to have the slipstream. Everybody's spaced out just right in front of him to be able to really take advantage of the aero and take the disadvantage of that rear wing being damaged away.
Ooh, I saw a little bit of a blink from Simone there. Hopefully, that's the last thing he needs.
Yeah, I think that's the second or third one I've seen here in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Side by side behind him there between Williams and Trangarade, but Williams will retain that 8th spot as we go back once again to T and Freckleton. And just behind him, Dubois had his fair share of exciting action today as he slides it into turn 8, and Konecki behind him still spying that car, hoping he can get that spot back. Down into the duckbill once again. He gets underneath them, and he's given space by Christoph, but can't quite get through. Back to Simone once again, and Parigi to his outside. And this looks like this might be an easy pass. Despite that wing damage, Simone's not too slow in a straight line, and he's certainly good under the brakes as the #1 machine moves into 6th. He has lost a little bit of time to the overall leader. It's now up to 10 seconds. But considering what he's gone through, I don't think that is dire.
Yeah, you can tell, like, once he got out into clean air, how that kind of slowed him down a little bit to where he was a lot more equal with Parigi. But just so much better once that front wing takes over on the downforce through the high-speed corners. I mean, man, he's just on rails when it comes to the cornering ability of that car right now.
Watching from Trangarade as he follows Williams, Parigi, and Simone. This could certainly erupt between the 3 of them behind Tomas. Don't think he's going to get caught by them. You can see he's already starting to stretch a bit of a gap. Oh, and it's a big slide from Ove, who certainly likes to hang the rear of that car out. But as you mentioned, I have to imagine that's going to hurt him in the long run.
We haven't talked a lot about him because he's just running away with this thing, but still have to give credit to Teemu Vascalampe. I mean, he's now upwards of almost 4 seconds a lead now over Jukka Tolonen, and like I was saying earlier, you allow Teemu to get in front of one of these races, and he's very likely going to run away with it on you, and he's doing that very methodically. I mean, he's not gaining huge amounts of time over Tolonen or Seppa every single lap, but he's gaining just enough that, it's going to be tough for anybody to catch Teemu. Where right now, you look at like somebody like Tomas Simone, who's cut through this field well enough. I mean, if I'm Tolonen or I'm Seppa, I'm going to be happy to watch my rearview mirror here by the end of this race.
Certainly. Up into the 6th spot, you can see the next one up still has about 2 seconds to try and claw back. He's only gotten up to 11th, by the way, and he's now 16 seconds behind the leaders. We're going to glance once again at Williams, sandwiched between the likes of Trangarade and Parigi, breaking down into the duckbill. They appear a bit stuck in this order, whereas we saw it's not impossible to try and make overtakes as Simone picked them off one by one. Not too many laps to go. A look to the inside from Williams, feeling ambitious into the junction, but it doesn't pay off. Almost looked like that hurt his exit, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful about being too aggressive, and you make one move here in one corner that's going to affect you for the next 2 or 3 down the line if you're not careful with it. It's still, I mean, this is a great fight. This is I love watching the Lotus 79 here for just this reason. It really does promote great racing action. You get a couple of guys out there that know what they're doing with these cars, and they're able to run this close, not hit each other, and still really, really look good doing it.
Watching from Williams' perspective up towards Parigi. He was getting close briefly once again, and he keeps showing himself in the mirrors. Still hasn't been able to shake the Italian off the racing line. Down into the infield section once again. Who's got the best mechanical grip of this trio? Down into the duck's bill. Still nobody poking their nose out. Let's not forget, not far behind them, Cortiniemi is still riding and hasn't lost too much ground. I wonder if he could become a factor if they do start fighting.
I mean, he's gonna that might be a tough one, I think. You know, but like we were talking about earlier, I mean, if you one mistake around here could cost you a second easy, you know, very, very easily. So, you know, if these three really, really decide to start pushing it, then that might change things. But right now, just kind of running a line like that a little bit, that's helped them. But hey, you know, right on board there with Timothy Reed going after Suarez. Suarez has not had the best of luck in this race here. And, you know, so even though these guys are in the very back quarter of the field, they're still running pretty competitively. They know what's on the line as far as some bragging rights here as the season comes to a close. And you never know. You get some good finishes here, maybe win some close battles. I mean, that sets you up good for success next season because, hey, that only starts 2 weeks from now.
This is an intense battle, too. You could see Suarez have a go at West. Oh, breaks early. Nearly catches out Timothy Reed in the process. In fact, Reed starts to lose control, takes to the paved runoff, gathers up that 1X, but he loses time to the fight for 18th.
Yeah, that was very Spa-like, though. You go out to a runoff, I got the 1X anyway. I'm going to keep the hammer down and keep after it. Might lose a little bit of time, but you're still doing all right.
And we are looking at a top 5 now for Simone if he can make this pass on Maisani. He's clawed back that 2-second gap. He's got the slipstream, sizing him up. Will we see Fabrizio cover him off? No. He's going to let him have the inside, outbreaks him into the corner, and that almost looks like Maisani just let him through.
Yeah, right now, Tomas Simone is the only one on this racetrack that is actually gaining time compared to your leader, Teemu Vascalampi. He's not going to have enough time, I think, to really make a play for the lead. But like I was saying a few minutes ago, Tolman, Seppa, maybe watch your rearview mirrors because Simone's going to be there by the end of this thing.
And there's only 2 drivers that have gotten into the 122s in this race in terms of lap times. Vascalampi, obviously our leader, and Simone. Tomas still holding that bonus point, those 2 bonus points rather, to help his finishing points haul. We'll see if he can get enough to try and challenge. Wonder if Andy T is hanging back a bit knowing that he'll get 50 points essentially no matter what. There's really not much point for him to try and hustle.
There's not really, but I mean, you can't tell a racer to slow down. I mean, that's hard. It doesn't work like that. So, I mean, he's still wanting to get every little bit that he can get here.
Yeah, you know, as soon as I say that, he's told us before that he doesn't points race. He races to race. And so I have a feeling he'll go back and listen to that and say, no, of course not. I'm trying my heart out right now. Just car is not there after taking a little bit of damage. As we watch from Suarez's perspective up on Barry West, and he's right on top of him.
Almost Suarez, I mean, I know we've covered the whole thing between T and Simone and all that, the start of this race and everything else. Suarez has had the most active race as far as, you know, I know I've caught him pointing the other way at least once already. He's made some contact with some guys. His car still looks good, though, but it's cost him a lot of time and a lot of position because Suarez is pretty racy. He's had to overcome a lot here so far today, even though he doesn't have the position right now to show for it.
He did manage to get by West, though, and we're looking at Trangrade now, still trying to overtake Parigi. He's been stuck behind him for some time, braking hard down into turn 8, using the banking of these corners as best he can. And Tomas Simone is already within 0.7 of a second of Hankel, and he's got it down to under 8 seconds. Remember, we said it was over 10 at one point on Vascalompi. He is still chipping away at that, and I believe he's got more than half the race to go. I actually think the win is doable here for the number one.
I don't like disagreeing with you, Joe, but I think it's just a touch out of reach. I do. Yes, I mean, time-wise, I think he's going to be okay, but I think it's having to really fight to get around these guys that's going to start slowing him up and prevent him from doing that. Because, I mean, Hankel here, he's not going to let this go without a fight. You know Seppa won't, you know Tollen won't either, and I think that'll be what keeps it out of reach for him.
Coming up to, I think, no, not one of his teammates. Darn red cars all look alike, as the 4 is now probably going to be playing defense. Tomas Simone rocks up to the gearbox of Andreas Hankel. A little bit off the apex there for the DH driver. Tomas now, is he going to try and go for the run off of the junction? Usually the most popular place to try and set somebody up, and it's looking good.
He's going to have a good run here. Let's see if it's good enough run. Hankel's going to go. Hankel should definitely go defensive. Force him around the outside. Not going to happen, though. Here comes Tomas Simone.
Just kind of half-heartedly put it in the middle. And Simone was willing to take the inside since there was a gap. So Hankel not fighting as hard as we thought.
Look at that. Simone was running that close to Hankel that lap and still laid down at 22.5.
Oh, here he comes. I think Andreas now sees, nope, no, he lifts. He had a fantastic bit of speed coming down the Retta Aposta, and maybe didn't fancy his chances.
Yeah, that was smart because, I mean, I don't think it was necessarily a risk of making contact. I think it was a risk of trying to start fighting Tomas Simone through this section when you know he's going to be faster. You're going to end up costing yourself a lot more time than what you're going to do otherwise.
Ooh, something happened to Trangarade. Trangarade off track. He spun it in the first corner, and then he got it going again and parked it. He didn't hit anything as far as I can tell.
Yeah, he has decided to call it a day. I don't think so either. That might have been frustration. You know, maybe realizing that, you know, maybe I don't really have much to lose here for this season by trying to continue. You know, I'm going to go spend my afternoon doing maybe a little something else. Well, I guess for Ove, it would be evening. He'd go spend his evening.
Exactly, yeah. Go crack one open and relax on the couch somewhere. Meanwhile, Simone up to 4th position, now has to make up 3 seconds. It is still down to 8 seconds up to Vascalompi. Next on his list is Severi Seppa, our 3rd in the points right now. I mentioned earlier that he's trying to run away from Frisha. Well, Frisha didn't show up today, so Severi should have that 3rd place on lockdown. Vascalompi's the one after Frisha chasing him, and he's a little too far back in the points. Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
No, I was just saying, you can just see right there visually a moment ago the gap that Simone has built up on Hankel. I mean, that's a pretty wide gap, and he's setting sail now towards Seppa and Tollen. But Vascalompi, I mean, he's just running away with this thing. Yeah, so now looking out the back wing of Tomas Simone. Good thing that camera survived the contact there at the beginning part of the race. So
yeah,
it's always great views off the rear gearbox.
Dougie puts a lot of hard work into positioning those on the car as we hop on board with Williams. Now, you might notice a dark red and black car up in front of them. T has finally managed to get his way into 8th place. He was helped by Trangarade retiring as well, but he overtook Parigi and Williams while we weren't looking. So, looks like about a second up to Cortiniemi, up in front of him. Lap times for T, 23.1, 23.5. Cortiniemi, 23.5, 23.3. They're comparable, but I have a feeling that T is going to try and reel him in and try and attack soon.
You see a little front wing damage there on the left front of Seppa's car. I'm going to guess that's curb damage. But still, that'll be something to keep an eye on, even though he's still hanging with Tollen pretty well here.
Last lap for Simone, 22.7, and Seppa 22.9, so 0.2 quicker. Yeah, you're right about it being a little bit of a harder run up at the front here. He's not making as big a chunks out of the gaps in front of him.
Yeah, you think, though, that he's going to get to these guys and he's going to put a lot of pressure on them. And I really think Tomas Simon, after that adventurous first lap, I think he's got a good shot at finishing on the podium, if not second here today. And it's been a fun ride watching him try to come up through this field. But really, most of these guys put on a good show here for today. Is riding along with Banker there, and Coach Zetchi almost looked like he about lost that rear end just a second ago.
So much has been going else. There have been so many important storylines. We haven't been able to give Daniel much love. He's up 3 spots from the start of this race, trying to make it 4 over Peter, who's actually exactly where he began things on the grid in 13th. Simone with another fastest lap. These cars tend to go quicker towards the end here, Adam.
Yeah, light fuel definitely helps with that. And we have a running theory that the tires get faster as they wear in quite a bit as well. Like I think it's a lot more than just light fuel. It's just the way this tire model works here. And I'll tell you, probably shouldn't give away too many trade secrets, but in a lot of races that require pit stops with the Lotus 79, nobody really ever takes tires because they seem to get faster as the day goes along.
Interesting. This isn't a car I've raced in official stuff with, but I'll take note in case I ever dare. Is one thing I think Simone might be hoping for here is Seppa has been pressuring Tolinen for some laps now. He's been about half a second back from the second place. If those two fight, that'll make it that much quicker that Tomas can gather them up and try and overtake.
Yeah, and I think Seppa knows that. I think that's why, maybe he can't, but maybe he's not putting a lot of pressure on Tolinen at this point, because he knows if he goes up there and starts, that's just going to get that gap between him and Simone to decrease that much faster. And I think he's just better off just staying in line right now. It's another 2/10 off the fastest lap of the race right there for Tomas Simone, now down to a 22.3.
He knows he's got a chance at doing back-to-back championships and wants to deny Andy T. He's trying for it. And if he could get up to second place, that might actually do it. I'll have to try and do the math on that one. Might need to wait till the break to figure that one out. It's not exactly our strong suit here on the air, but we're coming down to it.
I think we've had a rule for the last 5 years or so: don't do math on air.
Yep, exactly. Andy T, even though it's a little less inconsequential, or a little more inconsequential, I should say. English is fun. Is coming up to Cortiniemi, trying to get as many positions as he can. This will be for 7th place. Let's see, representing that Lotus 49 community. Plenty of the drivers do try and hop over despite the differences between these cars. The big connecting factor I find between the vintage cars and the drivers doing them seems to be the fact that they are vintage cars, Adam, not necessarily how they drive.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you're going to see a lot of the same guys here racing, the Audi or the Nissan for Camel GT, and you got a lot of the same guys that go over and race the Lotus 49. I like the vintage cars myself. I'm ecstatic that now we have the 87 Cup cars for oval racing here, and I really would like another vintage oval car or two. Daytona Superbird, maybe Dodge.
90s cart.
Yeah, 90s cart. Oh yes. Man, 90s cart would be fantastic. To me, those are some of the best sounding race cars ever. Those Cosworth engines. Whew. The only thing I miss more than that is V12 Formula One engines.
Those 90s Indy cars were some of the most vicious things ever built, if I have to say, as we are on board with Andy T. Still working on Cortiniemi here. I've been keeping half an eye on Seppa. We don't need to go there. Well, actually, we are there now. As he got within 0.2 of a second briefly on Tolinen. So he's been he has gotten close, but he hasn't been able to overtake, and he hasn't managed to get side by side. But Tomas has it down to 1.2.
And I'm going to stand by what I said. I don't think he wants to overtake Tolinen right now. I think, because the second he tries to make a move, then Simone's going to be right there. I mean, you're not going to have your opportunity to try to see what happens in a three-way battle or something like that. You might get more in that case. But, I mean, Simone he's already within, actually, he should be starting to sniff that draft now off those two cars. And, you know, if you get a side-by-side battle through one of these corners, he's going to be right on your rear wing, no time flat.
You're close now as they come down into the horseshoe. And even a defensive move from Tolan, and he's not feeling completely safe here at the end of this race. Seppa not willing to try and chuck it in down into 8. But now that they're starting to get offline, do we see the lap times start to stagnate? And will Simone cut it down ever more quickly? He's down to 1 second now.
All of these guys now running 22s here this last lap. So from Vascalampe on down to Tomas Simone. And Andretti is not too far out of that 22 range either, just saying.
Yeah, he's, let's see, at 23.0, but he's got to make up a lot, 7/10 to get to Simone. T hasn't really shown much sign that he's got the pace in the car today, unfortunately. Tomas down to 7/10 of a second, a 22.5. And Severi Seppa has got to be sweating now if a Finn can sweat.
Look at him work that wheel. That's more like Lotus 49 driving right there if we want to talk about the vintage car stuff. I mean, that's almost how you drive one of those Lotus 49s and have to wheel that thing around. I mean, he was wheeling that thing through the Senna S curves. Oh, and who's that going around here? Cordelami just had Vincent going back and looking here.
He lost it. Actually, you know what? I think it was some sort of hardware failure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This is incredibly strange.
He throttle full on, wheel locked all the way to the left.
And
that is
still.
It just blew up. He just blew up. That's a hardware failure if I've ever seen one. That was almost his pedals and his wheel lost connection to the computer.
Finally, he's able to exit. Something must have happened that froze the computer or something that he couldn't do anything about. You're going to see it here through the curve at a Sol after the Senna S.
And heads up driving by Andy T to miss this because this happened right in front of him.
Yeah, that would have just capped an unfortunate season finale for Andy T. Though, again, it really wouldn't make much difference because his drop points.
Oh, here we go. Seppa's finally decided that he's had enough here. He needs to go ahead and try to get around Tolonen, and he's going to complete that move around the high side. So, of course, like I said, he tries to make that move. Simone's going to be right there. Simone is right there. Now he's already going to be taking a look around Tolonen. Not quite there here just yet, but that got exciting quick.
And then covered off the inside. Tolanen's going to be a very tough cookie from what we've seen in races past. As Seppa now gets up into second, and Simone already all over the gearbox of that number 7, looking left and looking right. Yuka just continuing to plug up the inside line into most corners where you can overtake. Another little correction out of the junction from Simone as we ride on board.
Now, if I'm Severi here, I'm putting my car where it's going to be the most advantage for Simone to get around Tolonen, because I have a feeling that Simone's already going to get around me. But if I can help get some gap between myself and Tolonen, I might just hang on to that podium spot later on. They got to think a little bit big picture with 9 to go.
Mighty on the brakes for Tomas Simone, and he'll take third away from Tolonen. 9 laps to go. That's plenty of time for Tomas to attack. He's down to 6 seconds behind Vascalampi. This is indeed, you were right, it looks like a little too far back unless Timu has some sort of mistake or gets in trouble.
Timu he's on rails. I mean, he's one of the smoothest guys I know on the service. And as soon as he got away from the first turn fiasco, you just knew that he was going to ride this thing off into the sunset. And that's pretty much what he has. I mean, I don't want to count the eggs before they're hatched here or anything with 9 to go, but and it looks pretty good for him. While Simone he's going to have to fight to get around Seppa here. I mean, this is not going to be an easy pass at all.
So if he gets to second place, that'll be worth 50 points. If he keeps the fastest lap, that'll make it 52, which will replace his 39 points. The drop weeks. This is why I shouldn't do this while yeah, I'll figure this out later. But he's
I really have a math mind, and I'm not even trying this. Seppa's let him lock up that left front. That should give Simone what he needs to make that clean pass. Not quite. Seppa's going to come back on him here a little bit, go wheel to wheel.
And it's going to be fought down into the Interlagos. Watching from behind them, if they both go off, Tolinen could take both positions right back, but there's the job done. Simone ahead of Seppa. And here comes Tolinen. He is going to try and take advantage, braking deep down into the horseshoe. And he's got the grip. Look at that, off the racing line. Coming on attack for Seppa's third place, trying to get onto the podium. He might actually have it to the inside, into the next hairpin. It's not quite there, and Seppa somehow keeps him at bay. In a race that harkens back to Vettel in 2012, Tomas Simone overcoming disaster to try and claim a championship. The question is it enough?
We'll have to, like you're saying, we'll have to work the math out here later, but Andy T, in order to get any more positions, I mean, he's going to have to overcome 5 seconds up to Massini, and that's going to be a tall order there for Andy T as well. So things might be locked in now to how they finish this race. And you also got to note that Simone and Bascalampi, I mean, Bascalampi, since Simone had to fight tooth and nail that lap, I mean, he put almost a second more on Simone. So Simone, I think he is where he's going to finish at this point, as long as he can go through the next little bit mistake-free. Up for grabs, though, this last spot on the podium, and I think this is going to be the dogfight to watch.
Okay, incredibly, I figured it out. I had written a lot of numbers down to help myself, and thanks past me. If Simone finishes where he is, he will take the championship by 6 points over T.
Right, so pressure's on T. Simone needs to just be mistake-free the rest of this way. And I'm guessing, Joe, is that counting the 2 bonus points for the fastest lap?
Yes.
Okay, so that's not at play, but even then, he would still, I mean, that's still in play, but even if he didn't get it, that still gives him a 4-point advantage. So this is he just needs to be smooth. Don't worry about going for the race win. Just be smooth, finish this one out.
Dylan Freckleton, who we're watching from on board, has come up 3 spots from his start. He's now still working on Parigi. These two have been close to one another for much of the race. As they come up past the Subidos dos boxes, Parigi keeping himself at arm's length from that number 11. 6 laps to go for our drivers. What's funny is, well, maybe not funny for Seppa here, is that Simone managed to get past, but Severi and Yuka basically have just been left behind to continue their battle like nothing happened.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's, except, they flip-flopped spots compared to what they were 10 laps ago. But other than that, they're still going to go for it here. I mean, they're still running identical lap times. Their cars are taking identical lines. They look really close. I don't think we've seen the last of this fight here. I think this could be a good fight for the last spot on the podium.
Absolutely. And if I know both of them, they're going to be fighting as hard as they can to try and take this one. So Tolinen is not as quick in a straight line as we're used to seeing. Often he tends to blast past anybody just because that car is so quick. As we get more blinking from Simone, which seems to be the most likely culprit to stop him at this stage. Andy T probably trying to send someone over in Central Eastern Europe to take some wire cutters to Tomas's house right now.
And just recapping some of the guys we were following earlier, Timothy Reed had an unfortunate meeting with the Armco. He is out of this race.
Surprisingly, few drivers have left this race. Courtiniemi's gone for what we think was a hardware failure, and Trangrade, unsatisfied with his performance, has left voluntarily.
Yeah, so that means Timothy Reed's really the only one that has left because of an accident. You know, as far so attrition not very high here for today, despite the excitement that we saw in the first lap.
It was pretty impressive. Kind of taking a note from this year's Indy 500 as they come through.
Caution. Can you believe that? 2 cautions.
Oh, yeah, I was there. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing as they come down to 5 laps to go, 4 laps to go now, crossing the line for Vascalappi. Certainly hunting him. He's got the slipstream, but Tolinen runs out of straightaway.
Now you've got Tomas Simone running 22.1s with Timu still in the 22.6. You know, if we had about another 6 or 7 laps, Joe, I think you'd get your battle for the lead, but we don't. Simone's clicking it off. I think he's just making sure he cements those 2 extra bonus points since he can't control what happens to the Andretti's part of the race here now.
Well, unfortunately, it's ifs, ands, or buts don't get you points here in racing. It is where you finish. It is your performance on the track. So they're going to have to, Simone's going to have to hope for an incredible boost of speed or problems for Timu for a win. But at this stage, as we mentioned, I don't know if he can do the math from inside the cockpit, but he's done everything he could to make up for his issues, and that's the best he can do. So he has to be satisfied with that for now.
That's exactly it. You know, he's not been running the points or anything else while he's sitting there. He doesn't have anybody sitting there running the points for him. All he knows is that he needs to do as well as he possibly can. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. And it's the same way for Andy T. Don't think that Andy T is giving up on this. It's 21.9 for Tomas that last time by. So first driver today into the 21s. Just lightning speed around here.
In comparison, Andy T set his personal best at a 22.6, still remaining about half a second off the pace of who we think may be crowned champion once we finish 2.5 more laps. T, though, as actually, no, this is Parigi or Freckleton that we're on board with right now, chasing Parigi. T is up to 7th ahead of them. I think this is where the buck ends for the number 2. He's about 3.5 seconds back from Lysani and just doesn't seem to be that much quicker than the 14.
He's been able to chip away at it. I mean, it was at 5 seconds. Now it's down to about 3.5, but too little, too late. And I think at the end of the day, the difference is going to be that front wing damage through the technical portions of this course. And I think that's going to be a lot of what did Andy T in after that first lap contact. And there's just certain things that you just, even as good as you are, just can't overcome. And I think that's going to be one of it here today. And not to mention the traffic he had to fight early on. I mean, that was a bear too. As now Seppa and Tolinen once again here. I told you I didn't think this battle was done yet here. And they know we got 2 to go. So this will be the fight to watch.
No doubt about that. And I think Tolinen knows that as he follows the slipstream of Seppa. You can see him weaving down the Red Aposta, trying to break it as best he can. Still sawing away at the wheel, hustling it through every corner here today. This is one of our closest fights on the track, besides the one that we showed briefly before with Parigi and Freckleton tussling for 8th. For what it's worth, and those that can't see the tower on the left side, Vascalappi now 4.7 seconds ahead of Simone. Regardless of Tomas taking the win or not, this is an incredible run to get this close to the leader after 36 laps.
Yeah, Tomas Simone at turn number 2 on the first lap was in 19th position. Let that sink in. and got up to second.
And gained on the leader from his gap at the same time. That's just amazing. Is this West having to try and attack on Coriani? It looks like he's going to try it down into the horseshoe, but he's not going to be able to get it. Tries for the over-under, but he's not close enough. We're on the final lap already. And the other thing that's impressive is Timothy Reed is the only one that's, well, no, he's still in the pit lane, yeah. So nobody's gone a lap down. Everybody is going to finish on the lead lap, it looks like, because West and Coriani are getting ready to start that final lap. And Vascalompi, who you see on screen, is already into the infield.
Just a terrific run from Timu here for today. And once the seas parted, I mean, he did not get the greatest launch. I was worried about his launch at the start of this race, Joe, and based on the position and where the first turn is and what direction, and I was almost right about that. But the seas parted, he was able to run away, and here he is.
Vascalompi is going to be the one that takes the victory here today, and it will be his first win of the season. Congratulations to the Finn here at Interlagos, but behind him, Tomas Simon with a second has perhaps taken an improbable victory in the championship.
And is going to get that last spot on the podium next to Tolonen. Last battle on the racetrack here is going to be Paul Williams and Dylan Freckleton. That closes down to about 0.3 of a second, but even then, I don't think the draft is going to help out. As Freckleton looks like he's slowed quite a bit there. I mean, is he going to be under attack from trying to see who that is right behind him?
Shaning.
Yeah. Shaning might have a chance here, but now it'll be a little bit too little too late. But that was kind of a weird slowdown there.
Yeah, not sure what happened. Maybe got a little wheel spin or something, but that is the last of our battles. Everybody else trickling across the line. That means we're going to take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll try and do our best to confirm the points here and give an unofficial winner, but stick around because we've got driver interviews as well as those unofficial results coming your way.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Interlagos. What an incredible race we just witnessed, but this was what kicked it off and perhaps made the difference in the championship because by our calculations, Shimon is your champion by 6 points over Andy T, because T did not score points here today, not taking his drop points, essentially. He had to score more than 50 to earn more points, and that is what kicked it off. Both of them starting in second and third and coming together, only to find themselves falling to 19th and 20th at turn 2. So what did that do for the race results itself, though? We keep talking about the championship. Teemu Väiskalahti, he might be a little bit frustrated he didn't get as much attention, or maybe he's happy that he just could run a calm race to victory here today, taking his first win of the season. Tomas Simon recovered to an impressive second place and was only 3.5 seconds behind Teemu at the end. Severi Sepä rounded out the podium with third, with Jukka Tolinen settling for fourth, about half a second back at the line. Hankel was P5 with Sonny in 6th. T only able to climb to 7th, with Paul Williams in 8th, Freckleton in 9th, and Shanin in 10th.
Back half of the field, and keep in mind, we did not have a lot of attrition here for today, so most of these guys did ultimately finish. Alessandro Perigi, Peter Koznici, Daniel Banker, Christophe Dubois, Pablo Suarez, Cristiano Coriani, Barry West, and then the only one today that we lost due to an accident, Timothy Reed in 18th. Gordon Mimi had a hardware failure, and Obe Tranger Reed, don't know if it was a hardware failure or just the fact that he was just a little frustrated and wanted to go do something else, but his day was done early on after a fantastic job by everybody, all 20 of these guys here at Interlagos today.
That takes us to our winner here today, Teemu Väiskalahti. Teemu, you put it on pole, but you had two very fast guys starting behind you, and it seems they removed themselves from the equation immediately.
Yeah. I was not surprised something happened between them. It was very heated up fight with them, and yesterday they had some contact in yesterday's race, so... But I was surprised it happened that soon. And I knew that they are, at least one of them are going to jump me at start, because I knew I'm running much longer first gear. But yeah, that worked for me.
Yeah, we saw you mention that in the chat a little bit. Looked like didn't matter too much in the end. Once you had that lead, how hard were you pushing? And were you surprised to see Tomas get it back down to as close as he did?
I was not pushing at all. I just safe laps was giving the gap to Jukka and Severi. My fight was against Severi mostly. I believe I got the P3 from Sunday points now because I beat Severi. Just was controlling the gap to them and avoid doing any mistakes. But yeah, then I noticed that what Thomas is 8 seconds behind me, and there was still I think we were like halfway or something, and I calculated that I can't be more than half a second slower than him, so I had to push a bit then. But then I think something happened and he dropped a bit back, and then I could relax at the end again and don't worry about if he gets me a bit.
Yeah, that'll certainly light a fire on you, seeing that on your timing screen. Regardless, ending things off on a victory, is this? Do you want to thank anybody for helping get you to the top step today?
No, I didn't really get other help than from Thomas and Andy in this race because they crashed. I wasn't going to fight against them. They were fighting for the championship, and I was fighting for the P3, so I was going to let them handle the championship.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Well, congratulations. That was our winner, Teemu Väiskalahti, finally getting one this season. And fourth place, trying to get onto the podium, was Jukka Tolinen, and Adam has caught up with him.
Yeah, Jukka, overall today, really great race. I mean, you had to fight with Severi most of the day, and ultimately, I mean, you got up in fourth. You missed out on the podium, but still, great show. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I must say I'm exhausted right now. It was a proper thriller. So, in the end, I think it was that one mistake in the T1 that Severi was able to use, and I wasn't able to get back then. So it was really tight and enjoyable. Of course, I'm a little bit disappointed. I ended up fourth, but yeah, it was thrilling.
Well, when you can have a battle like that, still bring the car home in one piece. I mean, sometimes that's going to be a win amongst itself. I mean, because you survived to have the battle. But I got to think though, too. We talk about mistakes in this car, particularly at Interlagos. I mean, you make one mistake, you can lose a second easy. Is that part of what happened?
Yeah, I think I somewhat made a little mistake in the braking. The T1, and then I had to lift for a second, and Severi got much better exit, so that was pretty much it then. Yeah.
But hey, last race of the season, you gave it your all and had a great race too. I mean, at least from us watching it, and that's what it's about. You putting on a good show for everybody trying to watch, and so congratulations for that. I know you wanted that podium, didn't ultimately get it, but still great race today, Yuka.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks for the broadcast. Always enjoyable to watch it.
All right, well, that was Yuka, who finished in fourth here for today, and now I think Joe, you're going to catch up with Andy.
Indeed, Andy T, second place in the points. By our calculations, it was a 6-point difference in the end. When that accident happened at the start, what was going through your head?
I did not want to win a championship by hitting someone in the bum on lap 1, I tell you. That's not good. If I had won after that, which I don't know that I would have, look at the dude's pace, I would have just conceded it. That's just not good. Not a good feeling.
That's understandable, and sometimes these things happen coming into the final round with things so tense. We can see the replay on our screen. But what about your car after the accident? He seemed to really slice through, and you look like you struggled a little bit. Did you lose pace with some damage, or was that really what your car had?
So this is hilarious, right? All week I've been sat on a set that I like to call the Hyperdock, where I had amazing grip and 266 kph top speed. The front wing damage took 6 kph off that top speed, and I lost on my front end. So I could make up for it with the ARB changes and just kept the car oversteery to get the rear to rotate. But yeah, when first lap I'm in draft behind everyone, I'm like, has everyone else found this setup? Oh my god, just unbelievable. I feel like I'm drowning amongst every other car.
It's got to still be at least a little bit disappointing that it came down to the finale and it wound up just escaping your grasp. Will you try and come back and redeem yourself, see if you can finally get that championship?
Well, I've just checked the iRacing standings and it looks like I've won the iRacing Championship, so woohoo, champagne. Honestly, no. And the reason why is I'm competing with one guy, which is great, and the guy's a fantastic driver, but I'm learning next to nothing other than how to race Tamash. And if I want to develop as a driver, I need to go elsewhere. So I might stick to a big popular series and occasionally show my face here. It's just a shame, really, because the car's fantastic and there's some great people in the community, but it's just... I mean, the race before this, bad manners. Halfway through the race, I'm leading by like 12 seconds, and I just put some Z's in chat and said dead series, which it's so bad manners, but like, I want to race people, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to just time trial, so I need to go somewhere where every single mistake is punished, because here I can make a bunch of mistakes and still take a podium.
That's completely understandable, and that iRacing Championship sounds like a consolation at the very least. Congratulations still on a podium finish in the points. Sounds like you're going to go celebrate with some birds out there, Andy. So that was 7th place finisher here today, Andy T. I believe we've got one more to talk to just ahead of him in 6th as Adam's got up with Fabrizio Maisani.
Yeah, Sonny, hey, Fabrizio, you had a relatively quiet race, and I guess you're coming to Interlagos and Lotus 79. Quiet's not all that bad, is it?
Was maybe from television was looking a bit quiet, but I can say that was really hard because I had At the first lap, I had Andreas Henkel behind that was pushing hard. After he attacked me, I decided to don't fight hard him because also I thought that he could have better pace. After I discovered that my pace was not so bad, but I continued to push, trying to stay close to him. I was 2 seconds, always like this, to put a bit of pressure, but at the end it was not possible to arrive close to him. And after arrived from behind the NDT, that despite the car with damage from the starting crash with Thomas is always super fast, so I had to push till the end.
Well, I got to ask you too. I mean, you really looked like you enjoyed running out there today. Where does Interlagos rate as far as some of your favorite tracks?
Honestly, normally I'm not so fast in Interlagos, but I think I had a good week till the start. I could practice more, and I could have good feelings. And I'm happy because I was fourth in the Nürburgring week, but honestly I was a bit lucky there for the circumstances, no? And here is there that I think that the 6th place is deserved.
You know, 6th place at a track like this, you're able to finish. I mean, that's good enough for me, at least by my standards. I mean, I probably wouldn't even have finished here today. But hey, I got to ask you, are you going to be back here next season? Try to improve on your spot.
I will back for sure, but in the season that will start in September. Next season I will make just some races, because with summertime it's became a bit harder to dedicate so much time. But I adore this series. I think that this series will deserve for a lot more participation, because for me it's the most wonderful car in iRacing, and also the group of people is really wonderful group, and so I hope that will be always more people, and for sure from September I will do many other seasons, but now I need to relax and enjoy the summer.
Hey, I completely understand that, and hopefully you do have a great summer, and I appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you very much, and thank to you guys. Really very, very well done the broadcast.
Fabrizio Massini and Joe, I mean, just a great guy, great series, and thanks for having me on board here today.
Well, thanks for joining us. It certainly was an exciting one for us to call here at the end, but it's time to close up for the season ourselves. So we got to thank the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, or else we'd miss great stuff like this. Also, a thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast, listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Ryan, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store. It's simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. The next time we'll be back here with Lotus 79, it'll be Sunday, June 20th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.